We visit a great many bands on this channel from all eras, from styles that continue to baffle me. And then we discover bands like Badflower, who immediately I get it, I understand it melodically, I hear their messages lyrically, I'm drawn to them in a way that is very natural to me. And anytime now that I see Badflower in my upcoming reaction requests, I get super excited. And today is no different. We're going to be checking out three more Badflower songs together. First will be The Jester, then Cry, and lastly, My Funeral. This request comes special from Gundala the Wholesome, so thank you very much, Gundala, as always, for your support and general kindness. It means the world to me. Gundala dedicates this to all the people we can't live without. Now, let's just jump in.
Like a jester at the ball, rub my shoulders with the kings. And I was draped in golden velvet, bathing in applause while I was jumping through the rings. And then the cooks would sound a bell, and all the kings would lick their lips. But I couldn't find a placemat. The dinner table's full and there's no room for me to sit.
Wow.
Is there anybody out there looking out for me? Just say you want me, just say you need me. Is there anybody out there looking out for me?
Man's best friend.
Does anybody need me?
Oh.
Is every
The
last
ambience
soul just
already.
fucking me over? With tears on their shoes and ice on their shoulders.
This build
Is there
is...
anybody out there looking out for me?
we're hinting at something great. Oh.
Lord, I live to entertain.
Oh.
All my pride is in my praise.
That huge, like, punch into what we assume to be the chorus actually subverts our expectations because we immediately get that hit into a chorus feel, but pull it right back structurally to something that is more akin to a verse, which is very interesting. So far, so good. I'm loving the melody here, and I want to talk so much about the idea of the jester and the archetype, what it kind of resembles here. These lyrics are really interesting, but I guess I'll give this song a little bit more room to breathe before jumping in there.
Lord, I live to entertain. All my pride is in my praise. I hum along with this vibration and hope to God I make it. If any chord that I could strum made me feel as
Oh, a
like
bit of dissonance in there.
I'd slam my fingers in the doorway and shatter all the bones so I could never strum again. Is there anybody out there looking out for me? Oh, just say you want me, just say you need me. Is there anybody out there looking out for me? For me.
Wow.
Is every last soul just fucking me over?
Wow. I'm very impressed by this song because somehow it feels hard to grab onto structurally, which honestly is very exciting for me because I love not knowing what's going to happen, even though my brain like just passively anticipates things to come, especially if I'm familiar with the band and what their kind of style is like. But this song in particular is shifting my view not only of the song structure, but the expected levels of intensity for those various sections, because you can sort of imagine like a standard maybe I don't know, pop rock song structure to be kind of relaxed verse and then sort of a pre-chorus that builds more melodically, ramps up a bit with a big chorus, and then we return back to the second verse that is still quieter than the chorus but louder in volume and maybe intensity than the first verse, and then you go like this until you hit that last chorus and outro it in the kind of calm space. This song, it does not follow that structure of intensity either. I hope that makes sense.
Is every last soul just fucking me over? With tears on their shoes and ice on their shoulders.
Oh.
Is there anybody out there looking out for me?
Oh, that's so sad. It reminds me of one of the I think it was literally the first scene in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie where he's just trying to do his job, and I guess no spoilers, skip 20 seconds ahead if you don't want spoilers, but he's trying to do his job, and then random teens, they steal his sign, they beat him up, and he's just sad. And that movie to me resembles one of the more obvious tragedies in terms of just film and movie. Anyways, it reminds me of that. Oh, the dog is there.
Is there anybody out there looking out for me? Oh, just say you want me, just say you need me. Is there anybody out there looking out for me? For me? Wow. Is every last soul just fucking me over?
Oh,
With tears
the
on their shoes
melody.
and ice on their shoulders. Is there anybody out there looking out for me? For me?
Oh, you returned the dog.
Is every last soul just fucking me over?
I can't take the money. Oh my god.
With tears on their shoes and ice on their shoulders. Is there anybody out there looking out for me?
Dude, that last gesture to give the dog back, I didn't even realize it was a stray. Well, I guess just a runaway dog, really. And to give it back, not accept any money, it's so beautiful, pure, and tragic all in one. And that sort of maps on exactly to the archetype of the jester and kind of how I viewed the jester even outside of this song. It's this archetype that sort of defines the individual, the jester, as somebody who is there to placate the feelings of others, there to entertain others rather than be there for themselves. And oftentimes the jester, they are neglected. They're actually made to be the butt of the joke in a cruel twist of fate. And the jester, they continue on because they want the validation from others. They want to be accepted, and to make others laugh, to bring others joy is a way to do that. But, invariably the jester is often neglected, and, their own feelings, their own status are kind of left unconsidered. It may be a way to put it. And I don't know if this archetype exactly maps onto even some of the lyricism and definitely the visuals in this video, because that's sort of where my preconceived notions were kind of kicking in. I was thinking like, this is the jester and how is it going to apply to this song? But really what I kind of view from the lyrics in the song and even the video is this idea of just being disenfranchised and neglected by society as a whole. To me, it's not clear what the role of this man was beforehand. He just seemed to be homeless, right away. So we don't really know his backstory. But if we consider the archetype of the jester, the implication is that this man brought, did a lot for society, did a lot for his family, the world, whatever, and whatever cruel twist of fate, had in store for him caused him to become homeless, now begging for money, trying to make a life out of like pretty much nothing, and still having nothing at the end of it. It is just, to me, ultimately tragic. There's tons of interesting videos on YouTube about the archetype of the jester, the joker, that could explain that concept a lot better than I could. So then I'll shift my focus to the music, and again, the song structure, as we discussed. I liked how dynamic it was, how unpredictable it was, and you pair that with beautiful emotion in the vocals from Josh. I mean, the melody already speaks for itself. If you like it, if you enjoy it, your brain and body are going to kind of acclimate well and vibe along. So, we don't even need to discuss how good the melody is. Yeah, really cool song. I think I need to do more thinking on the lyrics here, but a great start. Let's jump into the next track here. This is going to be a live performance of Cry. Oh, I guess a canceled live stream. Ooh, what a tone. This is the kind of bass you could use as mortar to build your house. It's so structurally sound. That's a bit ominous, no? I love that they venture into these different vibes.
Lipstick paperweight, so your paperback spine won't blow away. Too brittle to stand your body straight and fight the wind.
Wow. Hold on, I'm going to pull up the lyrics here because that was far too poetic to not be spoken about. Give me a second. Here, I'll look it up while we play it. Lipstick paperweight, so your paperback spine won't blow away.
Lipstick paperweight,
oh,
so your paperback spine won't blow away. Too brittle to stand your body straight and fight the wind.
Wow. Often when you think of like having a paperback spine, paper thin skin, a paperback spine, it implies that you don't have any resilience. You're kind of going wherever the wind blows, so you don't have a value system yourself. If somebody convinces you of their own truth, and you're very, very quick to change your own view.
Skin like a cloudy day, eyes puffy like pocket bags on your face, that shelter your pain like a hiding place, and shake your chin, and it falls.
So the tears, right, from the cry. I love the description too of the puffy eyes, bucket bags. Whoa, the melody here. This is like the kind of melody I might expect from like one of those genre blended Sleep Token songs. It's not obvious, this melody.
You won't feel the same.
Feel the same. It's major in this part. And then back to a minor feel. But it's also like a bit ominous and dissonant up top. What a cool arrangement melodically.
Let you breathe in and out like a part lucid dream. Blurry lines decorate all you see to a foggy lens.
And it's so stripped down too, right?
Long throat gotta go. You gotta find peace in this broken home. Salivate gums and a runny nose. The body tense and cold, and it falls
Wow.
like rain.
I'm so impressed by the melody and this arrangement. I just have to keep repeating that.
When it falls,
Oh.
you won't feel the same.
Interesting. It is so cool.
You won't feel the pain.
This is like Badflower tapping into their like prog DNA, if if I can put it like that.
You won't feel the pain.
You could like put Porcupine Tree on a track like this. Beautiful piano playing.
You won't feel the pain. Oh, yeah. Oh, you won't feel the pain. Oh, you won't feel the pain.
So prog.
Like
So
rain.
prog.
When it falls,
I love the heavy drive that we heard earlier.
you won't feel the same.
And now just to open it up, only vocals and keys.
You won't feel it.
Oh. The breaking of his voice there. I don't mean to pause it here, but the breaking of his voice here, I immediately knew something was going to happen. The
You
feedback.
won't feel it. Oh, you won't feel the pain.
The keys, right? Just falling apart, collapsing onto itself. Dude. Why would they cancel this live stream? Like, that makes no sense to me. Because that was so good. I'm also curious what the, I guess, original studio version of the song sounds like, because this arrangement, it's so unique. I could imagine a world where this song is uh like simplified, but it's also so complicated in terms of its arrangement that I would just love to hear the, I guess, uh curated version of this song. I suppose I'll just look it up after this reaction. Um wow. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, because like with a lot of progressive music that you'll hear, especially like the songs and bands I've experienced on this channel, with prog, it is hard to identify all of the unique sections even after immediately having heard it, because there is so much density to all that you hear, and from section to section to section, the nuances are the things that stand out more than the obvious climactic moments. Though they're there, I think the nitty gritty is sometimes a little bit more interesting. But, I'll still do my best here. I think melodically we are transitioning between multiple scales. Some modulations are happening, but we aren't changing or transposing the key higher or lower. So that's at least good. We remain in a similar venue, even if, the paintings are changing, so to speak. I like the fact that overall, this is a rather stripped down track. There's a lot of, call it like dead air / empty space, where normally a whole band could fill up that moment in time if you were to take a cross section. But they're just willing to add sparse moments, allow certain instruments to be the end all be all, and then let it ride. Don't care to add more necessarily unless the section calls for it. And it's a loose way to structure your songs, because oftentimes it feels a little bit strange to not incorporate all of the elements that you have. But sometimes the smartest decision when writing and composing your songs is to play nothing. Actually, one of the things that I was learning really early on when I was starting like improvisation, and me and Gundel have had a conversation about this. Well, maybe not about this specific part of improv, but the idea that sometimes playing less is more, and it gives you the opportunity to be more creative. Because as a guitarist, I have the tendency to spam notes, shred up and down, do whatever I can because it looks cool, it sounds cool, but is not necessarily as creative or emotive as it could be. And taking the time, whether it's one beat of a rest or an entire measure, giving yourself that space allows your brain and heart to kind of catch up with the fingers. Because I can just do this all day and not even think about it, and you would hear sound, and I have so much muscle memory built in that you would hear it in a scale, and sometimes interesting subdivisions come out of that, and you would get cool patterns. But just because you can do something doesn't mean in the context of a certain song you should. And not to say that there's an optimal way to write a song or to do any improv. Play what you like and enjoy it as you're doing it. But if you give yourself some time and space to work on the musical thoughts, it works out well. Some of the best solos you'll find out there, they're sparse in terms of the number of notes, because each of the notes are carefully selected, deliberately played, and the nuances that make minimal note solos sound good are, let's say, in the slides, in the bends, in those ghost pull-offs, in a lot of these smaller techniques. And it's just worth considering. I know I got lost on the bit of the improv sidebar, but honestly, like it's hard for me to like fully encapsulate the feeling of this song either, because I feel like it is a nuanced take on sadness, on crying, because oftentimes you think of crying and on its surface it is just sadness from something, but the conversation about feeling numb after the fact doesn't necessarily come through. But the thing about numbness is it's there to dumb down the pain rather than to ameliorate the pain and heal. You stay numb. You don't recover from it if you're not going to engage with the feeling of pain further, right? You kind of have to go through the emotion rather than around it and past it or try to mask it. And in this sense, when one is doing this masking, whether it's subconscious or not, the pain is still there, but it's almost like you've just covered it up, and at some point you cover it up enough you won't even know where that pain is originally from. And it's ultimately tragic, and it creates this situation where you can feel perpetually sad or even apathetic about yourself and life without knowing why. And then you have to do a lot of shadow work and figure out why those things are that way. And sometimes you don't even, figure it out at that point. Sadness creating numbness. It's an interesting pathway. There's a lot more to discuss on that end, but I want to jump back into the music. Let's check out the last song, My Funeral.
Imagine if I took my life, gave up on love and died tonight. I wonder who would cry for me. I'll never know, I'll never see.
Cry reference.
I can still pretend it's so magical to think about the end. The ones I loved would blame themselves and wish that I'd reached out for help. Everybody else would try to analyze my suicide. Everybody wants to cry about some famous kid that died.
This is a heavy one.
Tonight I'll light a candle and fantasize my funeral.
Wow. That is a beautiful melody.
All my bitch-ass enemies would blame themselves for killing me. Confess it in a eulogy. Regret the things they said to me. My album would sell better and I'd probably trend on social media.
It's like, what are all of the potentialities? What are all of the other timelines that could happen after I'm gone? And it's a weird kind of mental, I don't know if you'd call it game, but the mind plays tricks on us. The mind loves to overthink in different ways, and this idea of like suicidal ideation manifests for different people differently. You think about your loved ones, you think about the people that are not your loved ones, what others would think about how you are feeling about yourself. There's like many steps towards actually self-harming and then doing something final, and ideation is a first step. Thinking of dying without enacting the means or the timing or like taking more serious steps towards doing this. I know very loosely the like heuristics that even like crisis center responders kind of look for in conversations with affected individuals. And it's just ultimately so tragic because we all want everybody to be peaceful. At least that's my hope. And on this channel, I preach peace, love, positivity, and so many people nowadays, they do not feel internal peace, and that lack of internal peace, drives them towards these terrible thought patterns that there's a final decision that makes sense for me and nobody else needs to weigh in on that, and I don't have to be around anymore. And now it makes sense for me to fantasize about the potential outcomes that are going to be there if I am gone. And maybe it does feel, in a backwards way, good to be remembered and missed, and that validates the feeling that you are actually cared for. But you don't want to do something like that is final, because are you going to be there to experience that love that people actually have for you if you were to do something like that? I mean, logically, no. And the romanticization of that act occurs anyways. So a lot of what happens, it defies logic, and it is fueled by such negative emotion, also paired with despair. Again, it's just ultimately tragic. And I just hope anybody who's going through something, you can try to reach out to somebody in your life who loves and cares about you. Call crisis hotlines and make sure you're not alone in this.
On social media, 'cause everybody wants to say, I just saw him the other day, pretend that they were close to me, for thoughts and prayers and sympathy. Everybody wants to be best friends with them.
The band this is about to shift from acoustic to full rock, is my guess.
I'm so sorry, I got hair in my mouth. Let's go. Tonight I'll light a candle and fantasize my funeral.
Why are sad songs about death and loneliness and heartbreak and all of this stuff so beautiful? It's a cosmic irony. Oh, the feedback, you hear that?
I know it's not my time to go. I still have so much room to grow. Secretly I think about the people I can't live without.
Right.
There's so much hate I wish to fight, so much here to keep myself
the flip.
alive.
What would I rather stay for rather than leave for?
The truth is I'm afraid of death. I never could commit to that. While immigrants and refugees ride blow-up rafts through deadly seas, and here I am, a privileged me with no concept for suffering. I think I'll shut the fuck up and donate to a charity.
Kind of interesting because, like, though it's good to positively reframe the terrible acts and what you would rather stay for, he's almost like discounting his own emotions, saying that they are not it is not real suffering. And I think suffering manifests for different people differently, so I think it's potentially risky to make a claim that what he is experiencing isn't suffering and he has no concept of it, but it's suffering born out of a different set of circumstances. So yes, he is privileged in certain ways, and despite his privilege, he is still also suffering in different ways too. But that is not to discount the suffering of others. It is just to acknowledge that suffering is everywhere, and we try to reconcile that the best ways we can. It's a beautiful melody.
ritual. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Wow. And this ritual. So at the end there, because he was lighting the candle to fantasize about his funeral throughout the track, but as we entered that like third final verse that switched the feeling, reframed the negativity he was feeling. Now he's saying, I'm going to end this ritual. So, well, not even implying, just directly stating that this process of fantasization was a ritual to him. It became a way of almost like weirdly self-soothing. And, take all of my opinions here with a grain of salt, because I have rather limited experience with true suicidal ideation and depression and these things that lead people to do something that is final. But part of at least what my thinking now is part of my critical thinking skills that are being applied here lead me to a conclusion that when you've kind of rewarded yourself emotionally for having suicidal thoughts repeatedly, it becomes a ritual, and one becomes validated by the feeling of sadness that you feel when you have these thoughts. It's almost like that idea of misery loves company, and instead of dealing with the pain, you'd rather share your pain with others. And it does make sense to communally go through things and help others through the grieving process, including yourself. So there's nothing implicitly wrong with, grieving together. But when you're doing it as the thing to do, rather than using it as a tool to get your way out of it, I think it keeps you stuck in that place. And I think so often people, even subconsciously, they do this when giving advice to others, but oftentimes the advice maintains that level of suffering rather than attempts to deal with it head on and repair some of the, thought patterns that drive individuals to those final actions. But like I said, I don't have that like firsthand experience, and I don't know people personally in my life who have gone through this in a very direct kind of way. I know people like friends of a friend kind of thing, and every time I've been introduced to people like that, talked and just learned about these things kind of online through school, I was always left with the impression that it is not proper to give advice or to try to necessarily help in a more active way, but more so be a sounding board, something that helps deter somebody from doing something final rather than being the bulwark for change, if that makes sense. But I've also heard it the other way too. I'm just kind of presenting the different sides that I've heard about how best to deal with the terrible situations that afflict many people. And I believe when I was looking into this more like in the late 2010s, which is like a crazy statement to make, I believe the statistics around it were suicidality among youths were increasing year on year. I don't know how those numbers are looking more these days. I know symptoms of like anxiety and depression ever since like COVID have been increasing as well. I haven't felt my 100% in different ways either. So I know people aren't where they would like to be ideally. And I think we just have to try to improve ourselves, the world, build a better future for everybody, build bonds and connections, be there for each other emotionally, one decision at a time. And hopefully we see better outcomes. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. We ended on a bit of a sad note, but I hope you all enjoyed the reaction. If you did and want to request one yourself, you can do so by hitting the first link below. But as always, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.